Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. It is Sunday. I have my coffee. And I hope things are well with you because it's going to get a little crazy. So, yesterday I got an email from a blog that I follow. And in the email was a link to a video by Canadian Prepper. Now, Canadian Prepper is not somebody that I follow these days. Me and him had some comments back and forth, and not exactly the kind of guy I thought he was, unfortunately. Although his content is educational, you can learn a lot from it. I'm not going to knock it. Just as a person, I thought he was better. And aside from that, he was talking about how not only is Ukraine and most of the EU stockpiling iodine tablets, which are necessary for nuclear fallout. The radiation gets into the iodine, builds up in your lymph nodes, you contract cancer and die. But you can prevent that by taking iodine, making sure that your lymph nodes are filled with non-radioactive iodine, and preventing yourself from getting cancer. And it's especially important with kids who are still developing and could possibly have longer repercussions from something like nuclear fallout. So he shares this news. The video is linked in this email. The email goes out. The video goes viral. And he says, after today, you're not going to be able to find iodine. So, being the person that I am, having two little kids, I went on Amazon and I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on here. I'm seeing tablets. I'm seeing the little eye drop things. Tons of iodine available on Amazon. But because I'm a paranoid psycho, I went ahead and I bought a couple bottles of tablets, put that order in. And the reason I'm making this video now is because I checked Amazon this morning. There are only two options left for potassium iodine tablets. And yesterday there was maybe a dozen. So Canadian Prepper's right. This stuff is selling out. There's definitely a scare. Apparently the U.S. government is starting to hoard iodine tablets, and there is rumors / news that state, local, and federal governments are now taking all those boxes of files and shit out of the old Cold War bunkers in the basements of these office buildings, and they're starting to clean them up, supply them with things like potassium iodine tablets, MREs, other long-term food storage options, things that you would need if you were stuck underground in a bunker for a couple days at a time, if not 3 months. So, I think he's right. I think we're not going to be able to find that pretty soon. So this is why I'm putting the video out there. I know I don't have that many viewers, but if even 1 or 2 people see this and they go on Amazon and they're able to get something if they so desire, good. I've done my part. Now to the scary shit. So, as of last year, Russia, who accounts for 40% of the wheat production in the world, cut off all export of wheat. Now, they said it was due to the pandemic. Most likely they were preparing for something like, I don't know, invading Ukraine and having the whole world pissed at you. So not only did Russia cut off their exports, Moldova recently did the same thing. Hungary is now doing the same thing. Ukraine, you're not getting crap from Ukraine. And Ukraine is a good chunk of the grain production for the EU. which means the EU is now going to dip into the world market, which China's already dipping into with their, where are they at now? 1.5 billion people. So China's not exporting, they're importing because they have the population and the need to do so. There is trade going on between Russia and China, so I wouldn't be surprised if Russia's actually exporting wheat to China because they're right next door, they're buddies, they're asking favors of each other. Just would not be surprised. The other thing that happened is the main producer for artificial fertilizer. A lot of that was done in Ukraine. We also bought a lot of it from Russia, which means there's no more artificial fertilizer in the market, which means what farmers are getting is the limited supply, which is going to be overpriced. That cost is going to go to selling the crop. The crop is going to cost more. That gets to the store. There's going to be a rate hike in prices, and yeah, food's going up. That's just the way it is. There's you have that. You also have the increase in energy cost, especially gasoline and diesel. Diesel is like almost $5 a gallon here where I live. That's going to be placed on the consumer as well. Like, why should we have to pay for higher gas prices and they don't have to, be charged more for their box of cereal, their bag of flour? People were complaining here about, bananas are, I think, 59 cents a pound. I remember the days when bananas were fairly cheap. But bananas never should have been fairly cheap. That was subsidized by oil. Everything on your store shelf is subsidized by oil. So, you add those factors in, no more fertilizer. Up to 40% of the world's wheat market is now non-accessible to the rest of the world. COVID, the lack of production during the whole COVID thing. So we should have lower reserves than we do. That's a thing. And things are going to go up. I did mention in a previous video that my neighbor stopped by the other day and was talking about how 2 pounds of hamburger was $15. That's now. Wait until later. So when all these cows, the price of grain is going to skyrocket. Farmers prefer to feed grain to their cows because it puts more fat in the muscle. The cows weigh more. They get paid more per cow. That's not happening. Either they go to grass-fed, which many cattle ranchers don't have the land to feed a herd of cow. Especially where I live, it's we have a mix of farms here. We have a lot of dairy farms. Then we have other farms that just produce hay. So you'll have farms that are just fields, acres and acres and acres of hay. That's baled up. That's sold to the dairy farms. The dairy farms collect the poo. The poo goes into, it ends up being turned into a compost tea. That gets sprayed all over the field. So they're kind of going back and forth with we feed your cows, your cows feed our fields. It's a nice system that we have here. Unfortunately, it's big tractors that are hauling this, which means fuel. So while we're sitting pretty with our fertilizer situation, our dairies and cattle aren't going to really be affected here. Other places are not going to be as fortunate, unfortunately. So, if you've been living the last 2 years, not preparing for something, um, this video is probably not for you. And honestly, I'm surprised you're watching it now. Maybe a red light went off in your head. Who knows? But my guess is if you're watching this video, you've probably had some inclination. You've been doing little things here and there, perhaps some big things, but at this point, aside from trying to order some potassium iodine, if you so choose, if you believe that, there's a possible chance for something happening in that regard, so be it. But as for either way, food costs are going to go up. The cost of energy is going up. Gasoline's going up. And yet in the other factors, you have to prepare. You're going to have to find alternative sources for food besides the supermarket, because supermarkets are limited by what comes in on the truck. And I think a lot of people do not realize how much local food and production goes on in their own area. You're also going to want to look at alternative sources like retail outlets that usually carry food, stuff that was going to expire soon on the shelf, things that stores decided they're no longer going to carry. Amish and Mennonite stores that usually have overstock items for really cheap. Things that didn't get to the restaurants, too much was produced, too many places didn't order it, we have to get rid of it, send it to the Amish. It's also a good place to get stuff in bulk. If you need wheat, oats, different things for baking, cooking, you can usually get a larger amount in bulk for a cheaper price than if you're just buy it by, the 5-pound bag or whatever. So, things to check into. Other things to consider is growing your own food, starting a garden, making sure that if you already have a garden, that your soil is healthy, that it's going to produce. If you don't compost, start composting because you're going to need it. It's a long physical process, but at the end, the payout is better than if you're going to a store and paying large amounts of money for bags of stuff that was shipped in. That's going to become more expensive. Bags of topsoil, bags of fertilizer, mulch. Find alternative sources of these things that you need for your garden. Fortunately for me, I have 15 acres that we sit on, and about half of it is wooded area. I can just go in the woods and collect what I need and use that to add to the top of the soil. So I am lucky in that regard. You could also buy a wood chipper if that's what you prefer. Make your own wood chips. I have seen where you can mulch leaves and other lawn refuse and turn that into fresh mulch. So look at these alternatives. Not everything has to come from a store. These are things to consider. What's a better, easier, direct way of getting something instead of dishing out money that is losing its value? So, yeah, if you're curious at this point, go check out Canadian Prepper's video. He seemed to have been dead on with this information. Hopefully this gets to people so that they can take advantage of it as well. As for the rest of, you guys have to know that food costs are going up. Like, nobody hasn't noticed that recently. And if you have, it means congratulations, you're wealthy and it really doesn't affect you. So piss off. And, yeah, food costs are going up. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And at the end, keep on typing.